Otherland is a book about the journey that I undertook with my Australian-born adolescent daughter Billy to Russia and Ukraine several years ago. My family left the former Soviet Union in '89, a month after the wall came down at the beginning of the end of the Cold War. And this reading is actually about the moment when Billy, my daughter, myself, and a friend called Natasha, who I hadn't seen for over 20 years, and we just met up. We are going to my street, to the apartment block where I grew up, and I haven't seen it for 19 years, and Billy has never seen it. So that's that moment. The three of us, Billy, Natasha, and I, walked together to 78 Chernyshevsky Street. Our balcony has been enclosed with ugly unpainted cladding and sliding glass windows. A fat middle-aged woman in a massive bra is on the balcony hanging out her washing. There goes the idea of a nice family keeping the genius loci of our apartment alive. That bra, its size, its make and ostentatious display, in combination with the woman's face and the way she seems angry with the wet grey socks and tracksuit pants that evidently require from her too much bending and stretching, is like a death sentence to my fantasies of homecoming. Women like that do not let women like me into their apartments. Despite being neither that old nor really that huge, such women simply cannot be imagined as young and light. They smell of cabbage and sweat, sit in their flats with their legs wide apart, as if in the middle of a collective farm, and for cultural leisure start fights with other neighbors on the stairwell. When we left in '89, in the days before private property was once again allowed, most people didn't own their apartments. They borrowed them from the state, which wanted them back in perfect condition. Not so much nanny state then, as the evil stepmother state. 19 years later, the doors of 78 Chernyshevsky Street no longer open to the uninitiated. The security entrance takes care of people like me who have no business lurking around other people's homes. Laughing because it is, after all, rather funny to come from the other side of the world only to be stopped dead in our tracks by an intercom, we wonder what it would take for this door to open. If only I knew the phone number of the woman who used to live in the apartment above us, I say to Billy and Natasha. Rima Vlampina was her name. If I knew her number, she would have definitely let us in. But I don't even know if she's alive, so I guess that's a dumb idea. As I say these words and move away from the building, seriously considering whether 15 minutes of banging my head on the tightly shut door is enough to concede defeat, I see Rima Vlampina walking towards us. Our middle-aged neighbor with her impeccable high hairdo, so intricate I always thought of it as simultaneously spectacular and spooky, is now an old woman. Her hair lies limp, no longer twisted and raised in salute to her superior grooming prowess. I stand frozen, trying not to breathe, not sure how much work will be required before Rima Vlampina recognizes the young Masha Tumarkina, who used to live below her with her nice parents and an older sister. Is 20 years an eternity for neighborly bonds? Rima Vlampina heads straight towards me, not looking the least bit surprised. "Hello, Ina," she says, recognizing my breed instantly, but thinking me my sister. "Rima Vlampina, it's Masha." "Oh, Mashenka, good morning." Rima Vlampina speaks so calmly, as if it is entirely in the nature of things that your neighbors from many decades ago, the nice ones who stuffed everything up by leaving forever, the first out of the building, in fact, will one day casually greet you at your building's door. "Shall we go in, girls?" Rima Vlampina opens the door. Here we are, inside, and instantly I feel as if I'm looking at an X-ray of my internal organs. For the past 2 decades, I have internalized the stairs and walls, decades overdue for major works, these letterboxes that look like long-forgotten birch houses perched between the ground and the first floor, and now, all of a sudden, these things appear outside me, reassembled as material objects, three-dimensional as anything. We walk up the stairs, I'm last in the procession, an old habit, past the door of the apartment that belongs to the woman and her bra. "This is the one," I say to Billy. She nods, and we keep walking. It has taken me almost 20 years to feel that I'm able to write a book like this. I'm really interested in this idea that Argentinian-born Chilean-American playwright Ariel Dorfman, he of the Death and Maiden fame, he talks about this idea of bicultural fate, about sort of belonging to two worlds simultaneously. And like I said, it has taken me this long to be able to to write this book and to feel that I can actually tell something that is intrinsically honest and intrinsically kind of worth telling in English to Australian audience. I think it's very easy to get things wrong. I've read many absolutely brilliant Russian thinkers who come to Australia for a month and get Australia so wrong, and then they write these beautiful essays that are just, your teeth ache when you read them. They're so wrong. And similarly, you get fantastic Western journalists who go into Russia and who write, best-selling books. And as I read them, I'm also, those teeth are beginning to ache again. So I think it's very, very hard to be able to do that and to kind of write across cultures. But, sometimes you feel that you are ready to give it a go, and I think that's what happened to me. Well, I was actually scared to go on this trip. I had been back to Russia many times, but never to Ukraine, because I was scared of, being clinically depressed on my arrival back to Australia. And no disrespect to Australia. And this time, and like I said, I don't know, I keep saying 20 years, but, it's a kind of pivotal number. This time, I was actually able to go to Russia and Ukraine and then to come back here and not to feel fractured and not to feel that my world is just filled with these fragments that cannot be reconciled, but feel that actually I can encompass both Russia, Ukraine and Australia, and I can love both of these places, and I don't have to choose, and I can love people who live there and who live here, and I don't have to be a different person when I'm in Australia, other than speaking, a different language and maybe dressing up a bit more in Russia and Ukraine, a bit of lipping, all the rest of it. But beyond that, I actually felt that now I have two homes, and that choice that felt very stark before and that tortured and tormented me for so many years, that choice was no longer there. I didn't have to choose, there was both. It was so delusional of me to think that we're going to have this kind of, intense quality time, and I write about it in the book. I just imagined how we were going to have our sort of moments of great discovery and great transformation together while holding hands, and we will reach this kind of understanding, unheard of in the world of mothers and their children, and we will just become one. And what happened was that, she spent half of this trip walking in front of me trying to pretend that she doesn't know me. And, so there's so much friction, and there's so much kind of, us just wanting to run away from each other and feeling kind of trapped in this sort of codependency that this trip put us in. But at the same time, I have to say now, safe almost 2 years sort of after this trip, I feel that the fact that we did take this trip and the fact that we actually reached incredible lows in our relationship on this trip, it was actually a really good thing. It didn't kill us, it made us stronger. And it kind of, being able to be in Russia and Ukraine and trying to think what my daughter sees, trying to imagine what it is that she actually sees when she's on the streets, when she's talking to these people, when she's having the experience that we're sort of sharing but not quite. I think that was very important for me, and I think that was kind of really fundamental for this book. Could have been a very boring book if it wasn't there. So it's good for the book.